And my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Did the math, I'm baby Johnny Cash. My girl gon' throw it back, that my life is cinemax. Holy hell, this max, I make hits and you make trash. I'm on vacay, do not ask, poolside eating Apple Jacks. Shut up, bitch, shut up. Big deal like TJ Maxx. Bought some cataracts, watch a naughty tag. Nick Cage, how I act, heavily dislike tags. Got some aces on my feet, never wear a mask. I'm in the cut like a wound, wake your ass up, make some room. And my girl, coming soon, I don't fuck with honeymoons. Throw some money on my tune, finesse too hard, I'm feeling Girls love me, they want a spoon. Let me finish, I'll resume. Flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. I just curved cameo, she said I'm a Romeo. She gon' split me up and lit me up like Oreo. First global book deal, sell that shit to Indigo. Getting money since I was an itty bitty embryo. Save my money when I die for the fam. Always make a sale, cab to Moran. Shawty tryna play some games where I don't play Catan. I'm a plug, she an outlet, cut up Mr. Middleman. Yeah, I got ass that she wants to come see. Yeah, only speak the truth, hyperbole. Goddamn, I sound good on this beach. Extraterrestrial ET, flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math.
Wait, I just had my first pink. I ain't have a job in 2 years, it was way harder than you think. Never thought I'd be the one to make it happen, I thought I would just sing. Funny how things change, not a girl I really wanna link. Wait, everything 180, huh? Next stop a Mercedes, huh? Why my ego inflated? Cause old haters outdated. And to all the girls I dated, I'm really sorry I made it. And we can't even have a conversation anymore, my number's not the same. Damn, I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my cord. I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my cord. And that's why I don't really got no friends. Circle same size since I don't know when. And I don't really know who want me to win, but that's the result of the city I'm in. I work like a slave, trying to get everyone paid. I want everything like Tim. What do I say? I just wanna pull off in the rave, make a car dash like Kim. Smile on her face, she can't wait till I get paid. I'ma take a fall for her sins. Everything changed, it's a bigger picture in the frame. I ain't never looked back since. Say she want a steak, we already went to every place, so I had to take her out the crib. Incredible taste, but it won't last longer than a date. Because I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my cord. I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my cord.
Nothing. People in your circle will just get to the bluffing. Yeah, they always switch sides, so I can't do the loving. No, I can't do the loving, so they always switch sides, so I can't do the loving. the dash now. Ayy.
So I started from nothing. I got money on my mind and I know that it's coming. I know people switch sides, so I can't do the loving. When you down, they won't ride. Everybody just bluffing. Now they hitting on my line cause they see how I'm coming. And I'm finally doing fine. I've been counting these hundreds. And my baby gon' ride. She is not with the front. So I put in overtime, but look what I'm becoming. You can look me in my eyes, don't believe all the judging. So I do this for my people, we the best, you know. I got lots of problems, I'm just stressed, you know. I'm just praying for the days I'm counting decimals. I've been riding with my brothers, for the rest they hold. I'm knowing I'ma make it, I just gotta be patient. I done come from nothing, now I'm about to make a statement. Bitches probably want me, but they can't even face it. Ayy, no, they can't even face it. So my brothers better make it out the basement. If she for me, then she know there's no replacement. I be outside, she see that I'm dripping, little baby know that I'm fly. No love for my city, who thought I'd make it this high? I know that y'all fake and the real in disguise. I've been through the most, I'm holding all this pain inside. These bitches would dump me, now I don't really gotta try. I'm stuck in all my habits, but I gotta have it. Spend a couple bands on a jacket. All this money on me, I keep stacking. Why do y'all acting? Why do y'all capping? Can't really say much, but I'm back up on my bullshit. We don't gotta front, my brothers ain't with the movement. Keep your shit blunt, you cross it, someone get ruthless. I don't got time for no drama, that shit is useless. Got no time for no bullshit, no time for a bitch. If you keep it real, best believe I never switch on you. All the money in the world, I won't switch on you. I could get you all the pearls, diamonds splits on you. If I got the whole world, I be missing you. I could drip you on our money and Givenchy too. Got the labels always calling cause we making moves. I ain't stopping till I got it and I swear that shit true. So my brothers better make it out the basement. If she for me, then she know there's no replacement. I be outside, she see that I'm dripping, little baby know that I'm fly. No love for my city, who thought I
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. As always, I am Brian Mansell, the host of the Brian Mansell Show. I got a podcast. I mean, I wouldn't call this podcast anymore. I feel like a vodcast almost, video podcast. But, we talk a lot of sports here. We explore all the different realms of sports, including even some more obscure ones. But today, we're not diving that deep. We're staying to more common stuff. So let's start out with the quick rundown of topics and a little more explanation of who I am. I'm a sports media professional who's been working in the industry now for a couple of years, and I know and talk a lot about sports. That's why we have this show. I want to be able to have these conversations with you guys and help give you guys the best advice in the event, you try to bet on games or whatever. This way, you guys have good game advice moving forward. I mean, that's the objective on these Fridays. So, first topic we're going to talk about today is going to be the Phillies and the Braves. Last night, the Phillies officially eliminated the 104-win Braves out of the postseason. That means all three teams in the MLB that qualified and went to the postseason that had 100 wins or more did not make it past the divisional round. Every single one of the 100-plus win teams went out in the divisional series. They didn't make it to the ALCS or NLCS. It's nothing but upsets, people. In the ALCS, you've got the Houston Astros, and against the Texas Rangers. The Rangers taking out the 100-plus win Baltimore Orioles to get there. Now in the NLCS, you've got the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were the 6th seed, knocking out the Dodgers in a sweep, who were 100-plus wins. And then last night, the Phillies knocking out the Braves as a wild card, taking out a 104-win squad, and who had the best overall record in Major League Baseball in 4 games. So we got a lot to talk about and unpack. So we're going to unpack that first, about how that came to be last night with the Phillies. We'll go into the ALCS-NLCS preview as well to wrap up baseball. Give you guys a little preview since baseball action for that series starts on Sunday with Game 1 of the ALCS between the Rangers and the Astros in Houston. In women's basketball, the Vegas Aces on Wednesday ended up completely obliterating the Liberty and take a 2-0 lead in the series. And one more win for them, they are going to go and complete their run at a championship. They need one more win, and that'll do it for them. But the Liberty aren't out of it yet, and I'll go into why they have a chance to possibly turn this series around. Thursday Night Football was last night. If you guys even watched it, I'm sure some of you did, some of you didn't. There was more attention around comments made by Steve Smith towards Jerry Jeudy that got Jeudy pretty fired up. But was Steve Smith Sr. wrong by any of his comments? We'll talk about that, as well as the outcome of that game between the Broncos and Chiefs. I mean, I'm pretty confident you guys already know the outcome, but still got to talk about it regardless. So, and speaking of which, staying on the football topic, we're going to finish on football the rest of the show. Frank Clark was officially released today by the Broncos. He's free to sign wherever he wants now. Any team that needs a good pass rusher, they get that now in Mr. Frank Clark, and they're going to be able to capitalize big time. What team's the best fits for him? I'll go into that. And to wrap it up, as always, we're going to do our Week 6 NFL predictions. You know, I wasn't on a great streak last week. I definitely know I got some wrong. But the intention is today we're going to try to go as perfect as possible this weekend. I already went 1-0 this week picking the Chiefs over the Broncos. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. So we'll go through all that and more here on the show today, the Brian Mansell Show. If you're watching this on Twitch for the first time, before we get started, you're new to this channel and you're seeing this on Twitch, please consider giving this channel a follow. It goes a long way in helping us gain more exposure in the sports community tab here on Twitch. We want to grow a authentic and organic fan base here of real diehard sports fans, and even for new fans as well. If I have to explain rules, I'll explain rules. I'm all open to everything here in the sports realm on Twitch. So please, if you guys want to help us grow, please consider giving us a follow. We're 2 followers away from hitting our follower goal of 15 here on Twitch, which is a big feat in and of itself. And on YouTube, if you are watching this right now, please consider subscribing to the channel. We do have a lot in mind in growing this channel down the line. We have a lot of content planned. I mean, I already put out my first piece saying if coaches could speak their mind, Week 5 edition. And let me tell you, if you guys haven't seen that yet, it is very funny. It is easily one of my best content videos I've done. Having to impersonate every coach and speak like they do and think like they do, it's definitely something. I'm also going to try to do more of that locker room work. Like, you know, sit in the locker room like, you know, what the hell's wrong with you guys? All this stuff, like really playing up the coaches and players a bit. Just to kind of really get the creativity all flowing and moving. Like that's what I'm thinking right now. I want to try and dive into that content more. So this way we get more engagement, more people. You guys don't just get me constantly talking into a microphone once a day in the morning here. I mean, I want to kind of get outside of that. And to those also who are there for the Phillies Braves Game 3 stream, thank you so much as well. We actually got a lot of good viewership on that. From what I saw, we actually hit almost 200 views on the video itself during the stream. So I wouldn't have been able to do that without you guys. So thank you guys so much for choosing us for that stream, to enjoy the Phillies and Braves content. It really went a long way in helping us get some bigger exposure for the channel and hopefully allowing us to do more down the line outside of just baseball. You know, trying to do some more in football and basketball and even hockey. The intention is once baseball season's over, we're going to be focusing on football, basketball, hockey. That's it. That's the main focuses. But unfortunately, we are in the postseason with baseball, so that will get more priority over everything else at the moment. But for right now, it's important to note that we are 100% all in on those sports. And a big shout out to Walter in the chat. What's going on, man? How you doing? So without further ado, let's get started on the first topic. The Phillies last night eliminated the Atlanta Braves. Now let me tell you, this pitching matchup, I gave a good warning on the show prior that if they were to have Ranger Suarez on the mound at the end of the Philly stream and they let him really pitch, they would have probably gotten away with this game. And they did. He pitched a great game that can't be denied. In fact, what I mean by that is rather than holding him only for under 3 innings, Suarez pitched for 5 innings. He went through the full 5, only allowed 1 run, 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks. He had a very good game and gave him exactly what they needed. They didn't need anything crazy from him. They just needed him to limit the runs and control the bats. And he did that really well yesterday, and they were able to pull that off. And then they said, don't worry, we'll hammer it home with our bullpen, and we'll take care of business with our bats. They're going to get to Ryder eventually, and they did. They got to Strider quickly. In fact, right after Atlanta scored their first run in the 4th inning and took the 1-0 lead, it felt like Game 3 all over again, because right when you got to the bottom of the 4th, here comes Nick Castellanos tying it with the solo homer. So now you got a tie game. Now Atlanta's trying to say, okay, we're tied. Let's try to see if we can squeeze another run here and there. And they had a couple opportunities, but they weren't able to pull that off. Once you get to the bottom of the 5th, though, that's where things kind of changed. And I'm not meaning for the better. I mean for the worse. And in terms for the Braves, at least. Strider, again, he didn't have a terrible game. He just really had problems with some of his pitches. There's a couple pitches in there you just wish you could have back, and that was the case here. All 3 runs that night were scored as solo shots. Every single score from this game was a home run. In the top of the 4th, it was Austin Riley hitting a homer to left that gave Atlanta the early lead. Then Castellanos hit a homer to left to tie the game up at 1. In the bottom of the 5th, it's Trey Turner who hits a home run, and he gives them the lead at 2-1. And then when you got Castellanos coming up again in the 6th inning, and he gives an even bigger lead with his 2nd homer of the night. He has been electric in this postseason. And in this series specifically, him and Turner have been on a bender. They've been going crazy this whole series. And they ended up knocking Strider out. He couldn't even finish the 6th inning. 3 runs, 7 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. Again, it's not a horrific line. The problem is they just kept getting to him and they were just taking it's one pitch. One pitch can ruin a whole game. And that's what happened. 3 rough pitches ruined the whole game. You take those earned runs away and those hits away, he's had no runs and 4 hits in the game. And it looks great. Make 2 of them strikeouts, boom, he's got 9 Ks. You're talking about how he basically just saved Atlanta, and the Phillies aren't advancing because of it. They have to go to a game 5 and go back to the Braves. They got to go back to Atlanta. But instead, the 3 rough pitches allowed them for all to go yard, and that changed the whole the mentality of the game, the mental aspect of it. And so they pull him, they put in A.J. Minter. Minter, couple hits. Nothing crazy. He did his job, got out of it. They had Johnson in. He, allowed to hit himself, walk somebody, and 2 strikeouts. And Iglesias came in for a little bit in the 8th and got a strikeout. And that was needed. That's all they needed. There were a lot of scary situations the Braves were in. But don't worry, the Phillies were in some too. They had some bases loaded scenarios and they got out of it. Specifically, the Johan Rojas play. I'm going to see if I can find that real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about. If you weren't able to watch the game last night, you guys missed out. You were on the edge of your seat the entire night. Even though it was a 3-1 lead, you just felt like at any point, Atlanta's offense could wake up and tie this game or even take the lead. It didn't matter where it was, but it was going to happen. So let me get the Johan Rojas play so I can show you all just exactly what I'm talking about. Rojas has not been hitting well in this series. It must be stated very clearly that he wasn't having the best series bat-wise. But in terms of actual fielding and production, he was one of the best. He was one of the best in the series, and it's not talked about enough. So here in this screen, as you guys may or may not know if you're new to the channel, this is the highlight window. We use this all the time in the show. I have to always update this. I'm always annoyed. But in the YouTube, we always put this in the YouTube window so you guys are able to see exactly what I see. So this is what we have. This is the video. It's not long. It's very short. But essentially, this is the situation. You're in the top of the 7th. Kimbrel comes out early to come pitch this. And he gets him in a bases-loaded scenario with 2 outs. And it's a 2-2 count to Acuna. Acuna could easily hit a homer right here and take a massive lead to make it a 5-3 game and make the Phillies play from behind again. He could easily hit a strong single that scores 2 and ties the game right up. And they're in that situation. So Kimbrel has to throw good pitches here. He was looking a little wild in this at-bat. They almost got away with one. There was a wild pitch to start. And then Kimbrel was settling down a little bit. And then Acuna took this one pretty deep. But if it wasn't for the heroics of a Mr. Johan Rojas right here,
On the run is Rojas, and he makes the catch.
he doesn't make that catch, folks. This game is tied. Maybe even the lead for Atlanta. He needed to make that catch. And if you are a Phillies fan, you know exactly about how rough that corner is in that stadium. You have to approach it the right angle right here, or else you're going to feel a lot of pain. And I mean a lot of pain. That is not padded right there in that gap. You hit that hard, you're going to break your hip. And the timing you have to make this play here, I'm going to pause it right at the spot. Catches it right here. And as he catches it, he's got to watch where he's running into. But the play itself is actually remarkable. The rookie comes through and makes a phenomenal play that gets them out of the big jam and bails out Craig Kimbrel, and they avoid allowing any runs at all. And that's the magic of Johan Rojas, a phenomenal fielder. It's what he is. He's great in the outfield. Probably one of the best, if not the best, on the team. And that's a big thing to have. You need to have that youth out there that has that speed, that has that strength, that has that agility to be able to pull these kind of plays off. And they were able to do that. Marsh wouldn't be able to make that play, and neither would Castellanos. Only Rojas could have made that play. That was it. And if you could agree or disagree with that, but that's the truth. It's the only ones who could have made the play was that guy. And it helped them, because right after that inning, that's where things started getting tight. Once that happened, it felt like the life had been pulled completely out of the Braves. That was your sign that, oh my goodness, the Phillies are really going to beat the Braves, and they're going to go to the NLCS again for their second consecutive season. And yes, that ended up being the case. Matt Strahm came out to get the save in the end. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was definitely close. It was 100% close. That ninth inning had you sweating a little bit. Only because you start out with Ozuna getting walked. And then you had a single from Murphy that put a man on first and third. So now you have a man on first and third starting out here. A strong hit makes it a 3-2 game. A double could make it a 2-run game. Could make it a tie game at any point. The lucky part is he got towards the bottom end of the lineup, so he didn't have to worry about it too much, but you still need to pitch strong because you don't want one of those guys having a hero October moment. And luckily enough, Strahm was able to avoid that. He pitched to Pilar, who was coming in to pinch it, if I'm correct, and he ended up popping out to the shortstop. So you got to pop up out of him. That's one out. Makes your life much easier. Now you're a double play away from going to the NLCS. You get Rosario up next. He's filling in for Wall. Rosario flies out to left, and it was shallow enough that the base runner couldn't advance from third to try and take the base. And in that kind of situation, you don't want to take that risk and try to run it, even though you could have beat it, because in the likelihood you get tagged out, that's how your season ends. You don't want to end your season like that. And then in the end, you have Vaughn Grisham, who hasn't been hitting well all year, coming in now to bat for Nicky Lopez, and he strikes out. He went on the swing. They checked his swing. They said he went around, and that did it for Philly. Philly ended up winning the series this way. And now Philly has a date with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And speaking of the Arizona Diamondbacks, let's talk about the upcoming series as we shift to our next topic, the ALCS-NLCS preview. We'll start with the Astro League since we're already here. The Phillies and the Diamondbacks, I don't want to be the person to say it because I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks here, but it would be nice to see Arizona get something nice and win a World Series. They've been struggling a long time. I'd like to see them, really get their footing back and get their rhythm back. And they looked really, really good in this postseason. And I don't think Philadelphia should underestimate the things that Arizona can bring to the plate. Now, we are yet to still see a pitching matchup yet, a probable pitchers. But if I'm guessing here, I'm thinking Arizona's either going to probably going to roll with Merrill Kelly for game one. They're probably going to roll with Merrill. And for Philly, they're going to have to roll with Wheeler. So it's probably going to be Kelly versus Wheeler. Or if Gallen wants to go on short rest after having a few days off, I could totally see them going with Gallen and Wheeler to start. Make them go ace for ace. And we'll see how that goes. Now, the only thing to worry about with the Diamondbacks in this series is Gabriel Moreno. Moreno is dealing with an injury that he's considered day-to-day on that he suffered in Game 3. His right wrist, he had x-rays on. He had damaged it in the game, but they said that on x-rays, it came back negative. So hopefully it's just sore, just needs to be rested and iced up, and he should be good to go for the series. Nothing major for the Diamondbacks to avoid a very bad situation because Moreno has been great in this postseason for them. And that isn't an understatement. It isn't. In the postseason, in 16 at-bats, he's registered 4 hits. He's got 3 homers. He's got 6 RBIs, a walk, and he's only struck out 5 times. He has had a very good postseason. So having him out would not help your team. It would put them in a weird situation. That's how I'm going to put it. Not having him would hurt. Now, the people to watch in this game specifically, I'll start it out here in this postseason with what's going on with these guys, Arizona-wise, bat-wise. That's how I'm going to put it. Now, this season, they haven't been a phenomenal batting team. That has to be acknowledged. They haven't been a good hitting squad. I mean that. But in this postseason, you've seen a completely different team wake up. Corbin Carroll's batting .412. 17 at-bats, he's got 7 hits. 2 homers, he's got a double. 4 RBIs. 14 total bases, he only struck out 3 times. He's stolen 2 bases and walked 6 times. The man's unstoppable. He's been incredible. And I don't think there's a single guy on the Phillies, well, only one guy on the Phillies has been doing overall better this postseason than Corbin Carroll, and that's Trey Turner. Trey Turner, of course, being the X factor in all this. And it's crazy because before the season, during the season, he was in such a bad slump. Analysts were questioning whether or not Philly made a bad decision getting Turner in the prior offseason. And it's actually proving them wrong. Because we all remember, the regular season, as long as you make it to the postseason, that's all that matters. Once you get to the postseason, it's a completely different season. It's a whole new thing. And Turner has proven that. After having a rough regular season, here he is now batting .524 at-bats. You're talking 12 hits, 4 doubles, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, only struck out 4 times, and has 2 walks. He's been incredible. He has the second highest batting average in the postseason this year. He has the highest one, though, of all teams remaining. All teams remaining is the highest batting average. That's it. Now, other guys I do want to mention in here as well who have been really good for their team. Castellanos and Harper. I've been saying those 2 guys have been X factors for them and playing over what we expected from them. Castellanos, 23 at-bats. He's got a .391 average and 9 hits here. You're talking in those at-bats. That's resulted in two doubles, 4 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 strikeouts only, a stolen base, and 2 walks. He has been hitting like a machine. If I'm correct, he's leading currently everybody in the postseason with 4 home runs. He's tied with Yordan Alvarez for that lead, but 4 homers for him and Yordan in this postseason up to this point. And that's a big deal. You know you got your power bat going strong. Castellanos, another guy that was like hot and cold during the season, but here he's been staying hot. He hasn't gone cold yet. And Bryce Harper, he's Bryce Harper, man. In the postseason, there's no stopping Harper. A different kind of person in the postseason from what he's in the regular season. .368 average, 19 at-bats, 7 hits out of those. He has got 3 homers of his own to add here, including 5 RBIs, 7 walks, 1 stolen base, and only 5 strikeouts. He has been a godsend for them. And the other 2 you have to worry about on Arizona doing some damage here. Tommy Pham and Ketel Marte. Those guys right there, both batting .318. 22 at-bats for both of them, 7 hits out of them. Marte has a double and 2 homers and 4 RBIs, while Pham has 1 homer and 1 RBI. The only guy really doing much scoring for them is Ketel Marte. But again, Pham getting any kind of hits is productive. It's productive. He struck out 5 times, sure, and the times he hasn't hit in the ball, which is okay. And he's stolen a base twice compared to Marte's 1. So that's the guy to worry about. And another one I'll throw in there just for the fun of it, Christian Walker. Haven't really talked about him much this year, but in this postseason, he's definitely a big name to watch. Christian Walker, .294 average, 17 at-bats. He's got 5 hits up to this point, 2 doubles included here. You're talking 2 doubles, a homer, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, and 2 stolen bases. And he struck out 5 times, but it's not as big of a deal as we think. Again, these are the guys to watch. And the 4th Philly I'm going to throw in here is JT Realmuto. He's been hitting really well. Didn't really hit great yesterday, but overall, in this postseason, he's been really good. .273 average, 22 at-bats, registered 6 hits of his own. And I believe that includes 2 homers as well. He's got, in that case, 2 homers and 6 RBIs. So he himself has been very productive on the offensive end. Nothing to complain about from me. He has been really, really good at baseball. That's how I put it. He's been really, really good at baseball. So this series is going to feature some good pitching as well. And what I mean by that is, you go back and you think about as well, what is going to be a defining factor here between the Diamondbacks and Phillies? You know, The bats we know have been lively for both of them. Maybe arguably the Phillies have been better than the Diamondbacks. But they've been on good streaks respectively from both sides. So, again, the question is whose momentum is stronger? And it's going to come down to the pitching in the end. That's how I feel about it. You got to think about what does the pitching provide that'll give them the edge? And for me, looking over everything in the pitching category, Merrill Kelly is the huge advantage that the Diamondbacks have. In his one game that he started, last series against the Dodgers, I said don't even start until game 3. He's not meant to pitch on the road. He's not meant to pitch in LA. Don't do it. And they did it. They made him start. And guess what? They got a big win, and he pitched a great game. He didn't allow a single run. He allowed 3 hits in six innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He had a great game. And I was wrong. And I'll admit I was wrong. So far in this matchup, he's considered arguably the best pitcher. But what's going to hurt them is that outside of him, the other guys is who you have to worry about. Kelly's been the only one who's been solid through it all. For the Phillies, they've got 3 guys who have been solid. All 3 have been good. We're talking Ranger, we're talking Aaron, we're talking Zach. All 3 of those guys have been great in this postseason. What do I mean by that? Suarez in the 2 games that he pitched and started in has a 1.04 ERA. That means 8 innings pitched. He's allowed 1 run on 4 hits, 1 of them being a homer, 1 walk, and he struck out 6. He has been dominant. He has really done great work here in the postseason. He's continuing his trend from at the end of the regular season where he was on that scoreless streak. He was continuing that in here and continuing to show why he cannot be overlooked. He is still a valuable part of this rotation, and he's playing at an elite level here. Aaron Nola, another guy who's been pitching here. 2 appearances with 2 starts here, right? Nola, in this case, has a 1.42 ERA. 12, nearly 13 innings pitched, 9 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 12 strikeouts. He has been lethal as well. The strikeouts stand out the most. 12 strikeouts is a big deal. But he still didn't have as many strikeouts as his colleague, who's considered the ace of the Phillies, Zach Wheeler, who has 18 up to this point after pitching 13 innings. He's got a 2.08 ERA. 3 earned runs, 8 hits, 1 homer, 1 walk, 18 strikeouts. He is a strikeout machine. And if that's going to tell me anything about this series between Philly and Arizona, it's going to tell me that Arizona's going to have a hard time with Wheeler. And they're going to do everything they can to get hot early. That's how you got to be if you're the Diamondbacks. You got to strike hard and strike early. That's how you mess with guys. If you strike early, you strike quick, and you keep your foot down, they are not going to be able to get back up. They're not going to be able to strike back. They're going to struggle. They're going to sputter, and they're going to fall apart. That's the only way you can get to the Phillies. Get at them early, force them out of the game, make their bullpen have to beat you. Because after a while, once you wear that bullpen down, you're going to have an opening to really capitalize because they're not going to be with their best stuff. And that's where you have the advantage in the rest of the series because now you got guys going out there for the next game the next day and they're completely gassed. They can't feel their arm. Their arm is taking some serious hits. So when they throw, they're going to look sore and cold out there, which gives you more opportunities to capitalize the next game. So you got to come in hard and hot in the first game. You got to light them up quickly and get going. The faster you get Wheeler out, the faster it'll be for you to score runs and benefit and get that bullpen worn down. That's what you need to do. If you wear down the bullpen, you're at full advantage in the series. That's what Arizona would have to do. But again, we'd have to trust the best bats. And they've had a lot of good bats in this series. Like I said, Ketel Marte's been good. Walker's been good. Pham's been good. Carroll's been good. Moreno's actually been solid too. They have 5 guys I just named that have been really good in this postseason. And in this series, I don't think it'll be any different. But on the Phillies side, they also have good bats. So they both are really good batting-wise. And their pitching has been, again, the main focus here. But let's go back to Arizona for a second. The other 2 guys I haven't mentioned yet, they both performed lower than how the Phillies have performed. Gallen has pitched in 2 games, 3.18 ERA, and he's supposed to be their ace and a Cy Young contender this year. 11 innings pitched, just over 11, 4 earned runs on 10 hits, 1 homer, 5 walks, 8 strikeouts. Not his best work, honestly, but again, that could change. Who knows? This series, he could look like, who do I say? What do I want to say? I'm not going to say Cy Young. I'll get a little different. Who knows? He could look like Pedro Martinez out there. Who knows? He could be an absolute knockout guy, or he could just, fall apart a little bit, look a little weaker. It happens, But to me, he's got to channel his inner Randy Johnson. He's got to channel his inner unit to really put the ice down on the Phillies to cool them off. It's got to be him. Ryan Thompson's also been solid for the Diamondbacks, although he is a relief pitcher. Being a relief pitcher he has pitched 5 innings, so he does qualify here with a 3.6 ERA, 2 earned runs on 5 hits and 5 innings pitched, 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. But compare that also to Brandon Pfaadt, and Pfaad's another big name to talk about. Coming into this postseason, I was not optimistic about him even in the slightest. Even in the slightest, I wasn't optimistic. Because again, he wasn't having the best year. And it had to be noted, the guy was pitching a 5.72 ERA in the season. I had no expectations for the kid. But he comes in here, and he's throwing a 3.86. He's pitching much better. I got to give him his credit in 2 starts. 7 innings pitched in 2 starts, 3 earned runs on 9 hits. He's allowed 1 homer and a walk and struck out 6. He's been good enough. Good enough. But against the Phillies, there's no such thing as good enough. It's elite. It's elite or nothing. Your pitching has to be at an elite level. It has to be at a good level. And if they're not there, they're not going to produce. So it's got to come down to the performance of Gallen and of Pfaadt. If Pfaadt can play at the better level than he did in this series against the Dodgers, then they're golden. But if they can't pull that off, this series will be over much quicker than you think. And again, I'm pulling for Arizona. I love seeing underdogs get big wins. And listen, Philly's an underdog story in itself. But coming into the year, a lot of people said Philly was going back to the World Series. Let's not forget that. A lot of people said Philly were going back. Outside of Philly fans. There wasn't a belief that the Braves were the dominant force when we started the year. The belief was the Phillies were going to be the dominant force. And it ended up not being that way. But it didn't change the fact that the preseason expectations were that the Phillies would find their way to go back. And they're doing that right now. So they're really not an underdog to me. It's the Diamondbacks themselves are the epitome of a true underdog story. And I'm hoping they complete it. But I can't control what they do in the game and how the pitching performs. So it's all going to come down to their starters. Can their starters give them quality starts and give them what they need to win? That's all it is. That's what they need to do. So that's going to sum it up for the NLCS. Let's move over to the ALCS now and talk about the Rangers and the Astros. This is a series I've been dreading to cover because this is 100% going to be a 7-game series. I don't see how this isn't a 7-game series. Rangers, Astros in Houston, same exact record, by the way. Same exact record. 90 wins each. You're talking about 2 squads that are almost identical to each other in the way they perform on the field. Now, Texas hasn't confirmed who their Game 1 starter is yet, but Houston has. Houston has chosen Justin Verlander to start off Game 1. He is going to be the starting pitcher. I'm not a fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the idea, but he has been very good in the postseason. If I'm correct, he actually has been the best overall. Let me get confirmation on that. If I'm correct, he's been the best in the postseason to this point. Yeah, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, no earned runs, no homers, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. But he's only had 1 start. This is a different team. He did this against the Twins. The Twins are not a big bat team. The Rangers are. How does he perform against a big bat team is going to be the question, ultimately, in the end. And for Texas, I'm curious to see which pitcher they're going to go with. Only because with the Rangers, there's a lot of options. And, I mean, if you go with... They've had a lot of time to rest their guys. So they can really roll with anybody at this point. They really can. But if we're focusing on the starters alone, I'm almost certain that either Eovaldi's going to pitch, and he's going to go out there, even though he hasn't looked the best. He hasn't pitched since Tuesday, so he's got plenty of rest to pitch, and he should be fine. But you've also got Dunning as an option, and he didn't look good really in the game he played against Baltimore back in the wild card. I mean, in the divisional series. He didn't look too great in that one. He only pitched 2 innings and they pulled him. He pitched 2 innings. Not good. But again, he only had 1 run and 2 hits. I don't get it. But I guess they didn't like the feel of that, so they just pulled him. You also have Andrew Heaney, who has also showed up to start a game. He had almost 4 innings of his own with 1 run and 2 hits. He himself was also involved in the Baltimore games. And the big question we've been waiting for as well is, where is Max Scherzer, and if he will pitch in this game, in this series. Will he pitch? That's what we're waiting on. Will he pitch in this series, or is he going to miss the whole postseason? What's going on? We need an answer, because Texas needs another ace in there, and Scherzer is that guy. He has the postseason experience to be that guy. Unfortunately, in this case, I'm hoping he's going to be in. I can't say he will, but they do have another guy who's been pitching great, that's been somebody they can go and rely on. The problem is he hasn't looked good in the postseason, and it's really taking effect on the team. And that's Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery was really good this season. He's been good since he left New York last season and went to the Cardinals. However, in 2 games started here, 11 innings pitched, he's given up 15 hits, 4 earned runs, a homer, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. Not good. Not good from him. Against Tampa Bay, he was lights out. Lights out. No earned runs, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts. Great game from him. Against Baltimore? 4 earned runs, 9 hits, 1 homer, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts in 4 innings pitched. The reason why they won that game is because Texas came to play batting-wise, and they had a batting practice with the Baltimore Orioles, and they were able to do that much damage. But if he can get back on track, maybe I don't have to be worried so much. But I am a little bit worried for the Rangers' rotation. They need Scherzer back. And if Scherzer isn't back for this series, I can't say that the Rangers are going to win this series. I just can't. They need Scherzer badly. Their best pitcher to this point has been Heaney and Dunning. And they both have allowed a run, and they didn't pitch beyond 4 innings. Like that's what bothers me. Neither one of them has pitched past 4 innings. And yet, they probably have the lowest average ERAs on the team. That's the issue. But let's take a look at the batting, because I think the batting is my question. Supposedly, Scherzer, I'm going to get my update now. Scherzer may be pitching at some point in the series, but right now, according to the manager of the Rays, Bruce Bochy, he said he was real encouraged, quote-unquote, by Scherzer's simulated game that he did on Wednesday. It's now Friday. We got to see what the next report says about his arm and his shoulder. Is his shoulder intact? Can he pitch? If he can pitch in the series, great. If he can't, oh no. I mean, that's the quick summary of it. Can he actually pitch the series? Or does he have to wait till the World Series? If they make it. That's what it's going to come down to. But let's look at the bats now. The bats are important here. In this postseason, in terms of batting, the Texas Rangers have the 2nd best batting average in the postseason. 3rd belongs to the Phillies, 4th belongs to the D-backs, and 5th belongs to the Astros. The number one team is not even in the postseason anymore. That's the Brewers. But if active teams remaining here, the 4 teams, Rangers are at a 2.82, Phillies at a 2.74, Diamondbacks at 2.62, and the Astros at 2.61. That's their batting numbers. In terms of homers, Philly and Arizona are tied at 13. Astros have 10, Rangers have 7. Not much of a home run team this postseason. And in terms of pitching for ERA, let's say, right? I go back to pitching real quick. Texas at a 2.20, Phillies are at a 1.53, Diamondbacks at a 2.20, and Astros at a 3.25. Their pitching has been weak in this postseason for the most part, outside of Verlander. So they have openings here to really capitalize. Astros giving up a lot of runs to the Twins, who came into this as one of the worst batting teams in the postseason, and they still were able to take a game from the Astros and still score runs. That's a concern to me for Houston. I would watch that very carefully for the rest of this series. The Verlander game, I'm not worried about. After that, I'd be worried. So So Texas ERA, we complained a lot about them and their starting pitching not being at the level it needs to be, but the Astros aren't there either. And they're arguably worse off than the Rangers are pitching-wise right now. And runs batted in, the RBIs. Phillies 31, Rangers 29, tied with the Astros there. Tied with the Diamondbacks at 29, and the Astros have 20. So even then, they're not the top RBI scoring team. It's still a little bit of an issue. They really need to score. Scoring is big against Texas. You got to be able to come in, strike, continually strike, and keep running the score up. That's the only way you can do it. Both of them are going to be trying to run the score up because Texas has already got that attention. You got to match what they can put out and maybe surpass that. And in terms of saves, I don't know if saves really matter here, but the Texas Rangers are at the bottom of the category with 1. Astros have 2. Phillies have 3. And the Diamondbacks have 4. Strikeouts, though. Rangers, the worst of the teams here in terms of getting strikeouts. Astros lead with 52. Phillies have 50. D-backs with 42. And Rangers with 41. 41. And in terms of collective hits, Texas has 51. Astros with 36, bottom of the category. Stolen bases. Texas, third with 3. And Houston's not even listed. And in terms of quality starts that they're getting out of their guys, Texas has tied for the most quality starts with the Phillies at 3 apiece. That's where we're at. That is where we're at. So a lot of questions left to ask here. So the Rangers, I'm not worried about in terms of their hitting. I think their batting is going to be perfectly fine. So I've got no concern with any single player. I think they've all been good. That's how I feel. You could probably disagree with me. But that's where I sit. You're talking Seager and Carter have been the best batters in this series in the postseason by far. They've been the best. Josh Jung has come out and hit really well as also, and you could also give some credit out to Adolis Garcia, still producing at a decent level. Averaging a 2.92 in 24 at bats. He's doing pretty well himself. But for the Astros, everything is on the shoulders right now, batting wise, of Yordan Alvarez. He has had a phenomenal postseason up to this point. 16 at-bats in 4 games played. He's got 7 hits, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, a walk, and only struck out 5 times. This man that we just talked about earlier is tied for the most homers in the postseason with Nick Castellanos right now. He is a home run machine. He is a power ball machine. You need to watch him. You got to pitch smart to him. That's the only guy to be worried about to me on the Astros currently who has been consistent. Outside of him, you've seen a resurgence in Jose Abreu in 4 games played, 16 at-bats. You're talking about a guy who's batting a .313 somehow. 16 at-bats. He's got 5 hits, 3 homers, 8 RBIs. He has been, it looks like he's back to his vintage self. He's back in the White Sox days. He really looks that good. And outside of that, the other guys you can keep an eye on, Jeremy Pena. He's batting .267. So he's been reliable. And Jose Altuve, he's batting just a .235, but that's as reliable as you can get with him right now. So they've got 4 guys that they can trust. Abreu, Alvarez, Pena, and Altuve. That's all they have. Those 4 guys. Meanwhile, for Texas, if I'm going through the top 50 batters of the postseason here, Jonah Heim is in there, right? Jonah Heim, the catcher, .238. Taveras, the center fielder for Texas. Adolis Garcia, the right fielder. You could also throw in the conversation Josh Jung, as we talked, the third baseman. Evan Carter, the center fielder for Texas. And Corey Seager, the shortstop. That's 6 players for Texas who are batting in the top 50 of all players in the postseason. Seager and Carter are both batting over 4... Actually, no. Seager, Carter, and Jung all batting 400 or higher in average. They are hitting machines right now. And the Astros have to find a way to slow those 3 down. If you can't do that, you're going to have a very long series. And you could easily get outperformed offensively by the Rangers. Like I said, the Rangers pitching is already in disarray because they still don't have Scherzer. If he can't pitch this series, there may be an issue. But your pitching is not much better. It really isn't. And you got to see some kind of better performance from them. That's what gets to me. Verlander has been the best guy in the postseason, but he's only pitched in 1 game. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. That's it. And who do you pitch against? Pitch against the Twins on Saturday. Last Saturday. Like, come on. And you go through the other guys who've been decent. Christian Javier. Christian Javier has been good too. I'll give him his credit. He's been good. 1 game started, 5 innings pitched, he allowed 1 hit, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts. But again, these are the Twins. Now, it doesn't seem like it means much, but I'm telling you, it means a lot. These are the Twins. The Twins came into this as not a good hitting team. They really were overplaying who they were. Overplaying their expectations. And it's great that they made the divisional series, but you weren't getting past the Astros. Your bats were not at the level they needed to be to capitalize on the Astros. And they couldn't do that. The Rangers have the bats to do this. Not the Twins. But the fact the Twins still got some good runs out of that tells me that outside of Verlander and Javier, this was rough. Jose Urquidy specifically. 3.18 ERA, which again, not bad. But in the 1 game he started, 5.2 innings, so didn't finish a full 6. 2 earned runs, 3 hits. 2 of them, those hits were homers. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Not great performance from him. I think they ended up losing that game when he pitched. No, they did end up winning, actually. That was on Wednesday. That was the one that clinched the series for Houston that helped them advance. That was when Urquidy took them out. It was very close also, 3-2 game. That's what the final result was. And then after Urquidy, you got Framber Valdez at the bottom. He has been the worst pitcher in the postseason by far, among starters and relievers that qualify. He has been the worst. In this postseason, he appeared once. He got knocked out after just over 4 innings, after allowing 5 earned runs, 7 hits, 1 homer, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The 1 game the Twins won was because Framber Valdez was on the mound. And it's actually insane because Valdez has been very good this year in the regular season. And he got blown up. And that just doesn't happen. But hey, like I said, the postseason's a different kind of thing. If you're not at your top in the postseason, you're going to fail. And you're going to stumble. You're going to fall. And there's going to be problems. And that's exactly what happened. They had problems. And you just can't beat that. You just can't. It's true. It's hard to look at it that way. But he needs to rebound. This is the team to rebound against. You show your strength and your force against the Rangers, and you're golden. You need to see better games from Valdez. And you got to see better games from Urquidy. Because they're going up against a team that hits even better than the Twins did. One of the best hitting teams in baseball this year. Like one of the best offensive teams outside of the Braves. And you're going up against a team that has pitching that could rival yours. So you got to be prepared for this. Their bullpen can go the distance. As long as Aroldis Chapman isn't pitching. But still, the point is, you could still go the distance. Their guys can go the distance pitching. Even if their starter shits the bed, they still got room to keep going. With the Astros, if your starters struggle, you're going to struggle. You need them. So you need better games from Urquidy. You need better game from Valdez against a team that's considered one of the best offenses outside of Atlanta this year. And they've kept that notion in this postseason, unlike Atlanta. So they actually have an advantage here. The Rangers, I'm saying. But it's down to Houston. If I'm giving a projection for the series, honestly, I got the Rangers. I think the Rangers get it done in 6. Rangers in 6. If we're talking about the NLCS as well, we'll flip back. For the postseason, I really want the Diamondbacks to win. I want to go with them in 7. But if I'm being a realist and I'm focusing on the facts, I'll say Phillies in 7. That'll be a shocking 7-game series, but the Phillies will go the distance with them. 7-game series, they'll go back to the World Series to face the Texas Rangers. That's what I'm thinking right now. Now, the series, the ALCS and NLCS do start over this weekend, beginning on Sunday. Sunday, 8:15 Eastern on Fox, Texas and Houston. And then Monday, you have Game 1 of the Phillies series, 8:07 Eastern on TBS. And Texas and Houston will have Game 2 that day as well, 4:37 p.m. Eastern on Fox and FS1. So just a quick updates all on that so you guys know when the games are playing. But this is going to lead us to our next topic quickly. We're going to go into the WNBA because we always have to give credit to our women. Let's talk about what's going on there with this series. And if it really is over between the Liberty and the Aces. I mean, they're faced an elimination at this point. In summary of how I would describe the series, the Aces are showing that the Liberty are just a puppy. at this point. They show they're just a dog. The way it works, it's like dogs do a lot of barking, and they show a lot of aggression, and you get really intimidated by them. But then once you get up to them and you get close to them, they kind of relax, and then they get easy and whatever, or they act scared. That's what the Liberty are. They come off as aggressive and tough and formidable. It's an opponent you really can't get by. It's always a tough competition. They beat the Aces 3 times this year. But the Liberty themselves right now don't look like that same beast they were. It's different. They're not that same team anymore. They're now down 2-0, and if they lose this game, they lose the series. They got their backs against the wall. They're back in New York, in home. So they have everything is on the line for this game. But let's go back and talk about Game 2. Game 1, we talked about it being somewhat close. Game 2 wasn't even close. 104 points from the Aces, and the New York Liberty had 76. Asia Wilson leading the way for the Aces with 26 of her own. Jonquel Jones is the person who led for New York with 22. Overall, the field goal percentage for New York was at 36%. Their three-point percentage was at a 23%. For Aces, 53% actually from the field, and just under 45% from 3 points. It's actually scary. I mean this. It's actually scary to see New York missing shots. And here's why. When you watch them over, on paper it doesn't make sense. Because they have good three-point shooters. But apparently nobody was able to shoot the three ball in this game against the Aces. 35 threes were attempted by the Liberty and only 8 were made. That is bad. And that is really bad. The only person who actually made some decent threes in the game, or I should say had made multiple, was Sabrina Ionescu and Laney. But Nigel Laney, she's the only other one who actually hit 2 threes in the game, more than one. So you need a better performance on that end. That's first. You had 12 points from Laney and 10 points from Ionescu. Ionescu has her own shoe brand, and you need more from her. 10 points isn't going to cut it. I'm sorry. It doesn't cut it. You need more than that, and they're not getting it. That's the issue here. 29 minutes, you go in 2 of 10 from the field. Are you kidding me? Your only shots you made were from beyond the arc. You missed everything inside. What is this? Vandersloot, I usually don't criticize like crazy, but 9 points. 9 points. 3 and 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, and missed a free throw in 26 minutes. Come on. Jones is the only person I won't criticize. 8 of 12 from the field in 30 minutes. Great. 22 points. Great. She had a double-double. 10 rebounds. 4 blocks. I mean, great. She had a great game. I can't fault her for anything. Breanna Stewart, though, double-double for her, too, but 14 points and 13 rebounds. 1 of 6 from 3. 6 of 17 from the field. You're an MVP. You just won an MVP award. You're not playing like one at all. Not a great game from her either. She needs to figure some things out. And they better figure it out before Sunday because Game 3 is on Sunday at 3, ABC Eastern. She really needs to get her stuff figured out. You cannot take bad shots in these games. If you continuously put up reckless shots, you're going to lose. You have to calculate it better. And the Vegas Aces know this, and that's why they're playing so good, is that they got everything calculated and down to a science. The Liberty don't have that. They go off the momentum of whoever's playing hot. And then once they go cold, you got nobody else there to pick it up. That's the problem. Okay? So if Jones is hot, you give her the ball. If Ionescu's hot, you give her the ball. If you got Stewart, you give her the ball. But if 2 of those 3 people aren't hot, and one of them is, and then that one person gets cold and nobody else can get hot, what do? You have to try to rebuild the fire and get it going again. And I didn't see it. There was nothing from this team. Again, 4 people hit the double digits in the starting rotation. 12, 14, 22, and 10. Vandersloot did 9. On the bench, again, the only person in the positive in the plus-minus was Johannes. 19 minutes, 1 of 4 from the field, which was a 3-point attempt, which she got. But 3 assists and 1 rebound. Plus 1, 3 points the whole game in the 19 minutes. What? What in the world? But let's flip that now to the Aces, as I'm getting more heated about this with New York. Let's look at the Aces. Actually look at them. Their bench really has no contribution to what they do. Every game, it's usually 1 or 2 people. So in this game, in Game 2, it was Alicia Clark contributing off the bench. 21 minutes, 2 of 2 from the field, 3 of 3 from the line, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 7 points contributed by her. Great. Absolutely great. The other 2 points from this bench came from Bell. That is Kirsten Bell. Kirsten Bell, 4 minutes, 0 for 2 from field goal, 0 for 1 from 3, but made both of her free throws. That's 2 points. And she got a steal. Again, even then she's producing. But let's look at the actual starting rotation, because this is where I actually get really hyped for them. And this is why I think the Aces were 100% winning the series. They definitely were. And anybody who thought otherwise, I'm sorry. And I might have thought otherwise at one point, but now, no chance. I really think there's no chance Liberty win this series. I mean this. I think it's over. But here's what the Aces produced in Game 2. Asia Wilson, leading the team, who should have been the MVP. 26 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 1 of 2 from 3, 10 of 16 from the field in 31 minutes. That is the stat line of somebody who should be an MVP. That is the stat line of someone who's a leader of their team. Let's look at Young as well. Young is another one who contributed a lot. Jackie Young, 24 points of her own coming in with 8 rebounds, 4 assists. 3 of 3 from the free throw line. The entire team made all of their free throws, by the way. The entire team of Las Vegas made their free throws. The Liberty missed 6 of them. You can't do that. You can't expect to win if you can't make all your free throws. Missed 6 of them. Vegas made all 17. Back to Jackie. Jackie Young, 3 of 7 from 3. She was on fire from beyond the arc. 9 of 16 from the field in 32 minutes. Kelsey Plum, 23 points of her own. Oh my, are you kidding me? A rebound, 8 assists, 3 steals. She was a defensive machine, 5 of 8 from 3, 7 of 14 from the field. This doesn't make sense. Do you see what's going on? Defensively, the Liberty are letting this all happen. They're letting it all happen. And then you also got Chelsea Gray, 37 minutes. She got 14 points. Not as much as her colleagues, but still in the double digits. 11 assists, 6 rebounds, 1 steal. She was all over the floor. Double-double for her. 2 of 8 from the arc. Obviously could be better, but still not bad. Not horrific. 6 of 14 from the field in 37 minutes. Again, great game for her. And the person I said I would love to see score some more points was Stokes, the center for the Aces. I was talking about Kaya Stokes. I'd like to see her get some points here. Well, she did just that. In this game in 30 minutes, 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. She hit 2 3-pointers. She hit 2. Are you kidding me? She herself hit 2 3-pointers. On the Liberty, only 2 people hit 2 threes on the entire roster. Laney and Ionescu were the only ones who were able to hit 2. Stewart didn't hit 2. Jones didn't hit. Well, no, actually, yeah, Jones didn't hit 2. Vandersloot didn't hit 2. Thornton didn't, and neither did Johannes. Same with Willoughby. Are you kidding me? I can't. The center for them, who really doesn't shoot, she's really not a shooter like that. And she went out there, and she was making threes left and right. 7 rebounds, 2 assists. She was all over the floor. 8 points that night. She finished with a plus 14. I mean, these Aces are something different. They're coached so well. Hammond has done a great job with the squad the last couple of years. They're 100% winning another title. I can't see it any other way. Can the Liberty show some fight? Yeah, go ahead. Show some fight. You got to win this game, though. You lose this game, it's a sweep. You don't want to get swept. Nuh-uh. You don't want to get swept by the Aces. You got to win a game here. So Liberty are going to have to try to find a way to will their way to a win here and try to make a comeback in this series. Because it's a 5-game series. You lose this, the series is over. Aces are winning the championship. It's over. So you've got to win on Sunday. Once again, Liberty, Aces, Liberty with the chip on their shoulder and a back against the wall, need a big win to avoid elimination and allowing the Aces to win the title. 3 o'clock, Eastern, ABC. Can Sabrina make a quick recovery is the question. And now let's flip it to Thursday Night Football. Now we're going to football the rest of the show. Thursday Night Football last night, Broncos-Chiefs. A lot of things happened. As expected, I had a good friend come to me last night and say, okay, I'm going to bet on the game. What should I bet for NFL? What do you think? What's the outcome going to be? What are the stats going to look like? And I told him what to bet. I told him Pacheco's going to have a good game. He's going to run wild. So if you're going to do anything, I would say if you want to play safe, go 50+ on the yardage. He did just that. He went over 50 yards. I said Patrick Mahomes is going to be throwing all over that field. It's going to be like training camp. Correct. 300+ yards. He had 306. And then you go ahead and you look at the winner. Clearly I had the Chiefs. And if it was a spread, I wasn't sure if they were going to cover the spread. I really wasn't. I mean, I had an expectation they would. But I didn't tell him to bet the spread. Because I just held back on it. I bit my tongue on it. The line was 10.5 in favor of the Chiefs. And the Chiefs won by 11. So, pretty much I would say the Broncos didn't cover. So, the Chiefs did. So, that ended up being right. But I still stand by what I said. So, I helped a friend out yesterday, big time. But let's feed it into now why the game went the way it did. Now, unfortunately, I can't review highlights on here because of YouTube. So, if I were to pull up highlights right now and start reacting to them, I will get flagged and brought down by YouTube. It's how they roll with the live stream. So, I apologize to anybody who I can't show the highlights to, but I'll explain it the best way I can. I mean, I already do it for play-by-play, so really this shouldn't be too much more difficult. But in summary, best way to explain it. Let's start off here with the most simple way. Broncos started with the ball, right? Did a few plays go downfield, a little bit at a time. They're trying to run the clock down and control, and they weren't looking good at all. It wasn't looking good. So you start out here with first down, and on the first down motion, you had a good run from McLaughlin. They got some good yardage coming down, some decent passes from Wilson, trying to extend these drives, and it was working. They were getting good groundwork that they needed. And so that carried over. They got a couple first downs. And then Sean Payton gets a little cute and decides, you know what? Let's try and go for it on 4th and 3 at Kansas City's 38. And when they tried it, Wilson got sacked. So that was really rough for them. After that, Chiefs take over on downs. They go down the field like it's light work and get a field goal out of it. And then Broncos go back on the field. 3-0, still manageable game. Denver can come back, not a problem. Well, it didn't last long. The second play of the drive, Russell Wilson threw an interception by Judy that was intercepted by Nick Bolton. And Kansas City got it right back. And when they got it right back, Mahomes, 4 plays later, throws an interception to Justin Simmons, who's one of the best safeties in the game. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever get it twisted. And it created problems. Again, he's giving you the game. He's letting you stay involved in this game. The Broncos should have been blown out. The fact that Kansas City Chiefs let them hang around is very respectable and commendable, I have to say. So the Broncos get the ball back. But as they go into the end of the first quarter, they're moving the ball a little bit at a time. They already got a first down. But they're hitting 3rd and 1. They tried to run it. Didn't go well. So they're on 4th and 2. They decided to punt because they're in their own territory. So they punt. Chiefs get it. Down on downs. Broncos get it again. They have to punt again because they're not completing passes. And the play calls are not creative enough to mess up the Chiefs. So the Chiefs get it back. And they score a touchdown on their next drive that goes 7 plays. It takes a touchdown by Kadarius Toney to do it. And they gain their yardage pretty quickly because Mahomes completes a pass to Kelsey, gets the 13-yard chunk play. Then he gets it to Noah Gray for 6. Then he lets Pacheco run, and Pacheco goes 15 yards. I mean, they were getting a lot of good chunk yardage. Kelsey, right after that big run, a 19-yard completion. They're in the red zone. Pacheco gets him a little bit closer. Then Tony gets a 3-yard touchdown pass. Good. And they make the extra point. And then you have to give it back to the Broncos. You're up 10-0. What do you do, Broncos? How do you respond? Well, I'll tell you how we're going to respond, John. This is how we respond. Russell Wilson continues to get sacked and miss passes. So there you go. Punt the ball again. The Chiefs get it back after that touchdown drive. They have to punt really quickly because some good defense was played by the Broncos. Defense was very good this game. I cannot understate that. The defense was good for the Broncos. The offense was horrific. Horrific. You came in to fix the offense, Sean, and it looks worse. What did you do? What did you do? But the Broncos got it back. 4 plays. Nothing happens. Again, Wilson getting sacked. They got maybe 1 first down from a P-Ryan run. I mean, a little past the P-Ryan, he got 15 yards. Great. But nothing else came of it. After that, Wilson's is struggling. He's doing short passes. He's getting incomplete. He's getting sacked. It's just not working. So they get it back before the half ends. The Chiefs go down the field a little bit, and they kick a quick field goal. Done. 13-0 lead, end of the second. 13-0 is the score. If you want to win, you got to come out in the third and score, right? That's the normal way to do it. That's how you got to do it with the Chiefs. The Broncos need a score. Well, that sucks because the Chiefs got the ball to start the second half, and they kicked the field goal on their first drive. A long 12-play drive that chewed up almost 6 minutes of clock to open. So now you have to score on this drive to set a tone. So you start moving the ball a little bit. You see a couple first downs come in. They're making great work. Russell Wilson's actually able to collect 4 first downs. They had 3 first downs. Correction, 3 first downs. And he was able to get something going. He had a defensive pass interference that helped him out a lot early. Then he got a good pass out to McLaughlin, using him a lot. Williams was able to get around in the ground game that opened it up. And then Jerry Jeudy got a nice catch for 13. But then right around the 5:45 left in the third, in a no-huddle shotgun, Russell Wilson on the 28-yard line of Kansas City throws a pass to Dolchich that ends up intercepted by Justin Reed. And they had a decent return of 11 yards out of it to the KC 36. So now you just ended a drive with another interception. Another. So now the Broncos are down 16-0. They just gave the ball back to the Chiefs because he turned it over again, and now they have to go. The Chiefs get lucky, the Chiefs punt. They get the ball next. Only won 6 plays, wasted 4 minutes off the clock. Now the Broncos have to go again. End of the third quarter, they're in a 2nd-and-1 situation. And Wilson is constantly scrambling and running, and he's trying his best to extend it himself. He's still not completing passes. He's missing passes. He threw on a 2nd down, missed Johnson. Threw on 3rd down, missed Johnson again deep. And now they have to punt on a 4th and 10. The Chiefs get the ball back. 6 plays, chew 3.5 minutes off the clock. They get lucky, they get a stop. Exactly what they needed. So the Chiefs have to give it back to the Broncos. Well, they finally get something figured out because in the 4th quarter, they go down the field in 6 plays and score a touchdown in a little over 3 minutes. Cortland Sutton catches an 11-yard pass from Wilson for the touchdown. They went for 2. Javonte Williams ran it in, got the 2-point conversion. Game is now at 16-8, 1-possession game. Now, after all of that, when they finally score, the Chiefs' next drive, they go down the field and kick a field goal. Kick a field goal. So now it's 19-8. That's the score. And that would end up being the final score of the game as well. They chewed up all the clock. 4 minutes, 9-play drive, got into field goal range, boom. Chiefs get the field goal, make it a 2-possession game. The Broncos come up realizing, okay, we're 2-minute drill. We got to strike quick. We got to move quick. First play from Wilson, incomplete. Second play to P-Ryan. P-Ryan fumbles because McDuffie popped it out. It was covered by Willie Gay. Game ended. That is the Denver Broncos in a nutshell for you. Nobody makes me angrier than the Denver Broncos. Nobody. Because it's now back-to-back years that they've had coaches that seem like they don't know how to run an offense, which I find unbelievable. Because you just see, it's like Sean Payton came into this very arrogant, saying, oh, he did a terrible job coaching. It's not going to happen with me. We're going to change things around here. Sure, go ahead, try to change things. You're still 1-5. You still have one of the worst offenses in the league, and it's not an understatement. It's the truth. It's the truth. Like, look, if you pull up the team numbers, right? I'm going for total yardage here. Team offenses, right? I'm pulling up the numbers. The Broncos, in total offense and yardage, right? 12th worst in the league. They're lucky they're not in the bottom 10. They're basically in the middle of the pack at 306 yards per game. There are somehow plenty of teams that are worse. I'm still processing that myself. I can't believe that that's actually true. But the passing yardage per game, these Broncos are in the low end of the pack. They're averaging just at 200 yards per game. On the ground, rushing, right? The Broncos are also low end of the middle of the pack. They are a below average offense overall. And that's what sinks them. Being a below average offense in this league is going to hurt your team more than you think. And let's go by turnovers too, right? The turnover differentials. These are important. The Broncos register a -5. In terms of takeaways and giveaways, they register a -5. That is equivalent to the Giants and the Commanders. You cannot be that way and expect to be successful. The most takeaways in football belong to the Buffalo Bills at a +6 differential. 13 takeaways as into 7 giveaways. Let's actually look at the giveaways and see who's at the top of this list. Oh, what a surprise. It's the freaking Denver Broncos. At number 2, 11 giveaways. That is tied for the second most in the NFL. Number 1 is the Vikings, and they're tied at second with the Raiders. You just can't turn over the ball. They fumbled 7 times, and they've thrown 4 interceptions. That just cannot happen. If you keep fumbling the ball, you're going to keep fumbling games away. That's the truth. And Sean Payton's got to drill that in his team. Make sure you understand, look, hold on to this ball. I don't care if you catch this ball or not. If you secure that ball, I'm happy. That's what needs to be communicated. If that's not communicated, then Sean Payton's the problem. That's it. There's no other way to put it. It is the truth, and I'm going to stick to that truth. Turnovers are the issue for this team. 11 giveaways is not okay. And the differential is only a -5 because they have 6 takeaways, which is the same as the Cardinals and Seahawks. What they need is to be a team that gets a lot of takeaways and doesn't have many giveaways. A really good example of a team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to come off biased because I'm a Bucs fan, but I don't want it to be. They are top 5 in the league in takeaways. Number 5 with 10. The only teams that are better right now are the Bills, Cowboys, Steelers, and Jaguars. In terms of giveaways, the amount of times they give possession over, they're at 3. 2 interceptions and a fumble. That's a +7 differential, which ties for the best in the league with the San Francisco 49ers. That is an incredible company to be with. If you can purposely pull that off where your differential is in the positive, typically that means you're going to be a good football team. Typically. But sometimes that's not always the case. But here for the most part, you're seeing that. The top 4 teams listed here in differential are all teams that would be in the postseason today. The Niners, the Bucks, the Bills, and the Cowboys. Number 5 is the Steelers. And tied in that category with the Steelers are the Chargers, Seahawks, and Texans. All these teams are fighting for playoff spots already and would be in playoff contention. Heavily in the mix. So yes, I stand by that. Your turnovers and takeaways and your giveaways, the differential is important. You can't give away the ball so much because it's going to sink your opportunities to win games. And the Broncos don't understand that. They can't hold on to the ball for their life. They keep turning it over. And it's mostly in fumbles. You got 4 Russell Wilson interceptions, which actually isn't terrible if you think about it. It really isn't. But if you're talking about at this point of the season, the leading interception team is the Raiders with 8. The Broncos are lucky to have only 4. There are plenty of teams that have double that. There's one team that's double, The Chiefs have more interceptions. The Packers have more interceptions. The Bills have more interceptions. So I can't blame Russell Wilson entirely for the mistakes, but your offense can't entirely flow if they keep fumbling the ball. If you keep fumbling the ball, what happens? You lose the possession, you give the momentum to the other team, they capitalize on the field position, and now you get screwed, and you get shafted. That's the problem. So they need to figure this out big time. And defensively, it's not helping either. I mean that. Quite literally, I mean that. The Broncos allow the most total yards in all of football at 440. In terms of passing yards, for the Broncos, they're bottom 4 with the Seahawks, Bears, and Chargers for the most passing yards allowed in the league. 268 yards per game. In terms of rushing yards, the Broncos are the worst in the league at 172 yards on the ground per game. The worst rush defense and the 4th worst pass defense. You just can't have that. You just can't have that. And let's talk about scoring too. Points per game allowed. Where do the Broncos sit? Oh, look at that. 33.3 per game. I'm sure we're probably going to count the Miami Dolphins as an outlier. But guess what? You can't count as an outlier if it happened. It happened. You lost and gave up 70 points to the Miami freaking Dolphins. You need to accept the fact that you suck. And you got to change things. And to me, changing things at 1-5, I didn't want to say it. But I'm going to say it. Go on a fire sale. Rebuild. Rebuild properly. Go ahead, tank for Caleb. Do something, Sean. Make a commitment. You're either committing to winning or mediocrity at this point, or you're committing to a better future. A better future where you can actually sustain a winning culture in Denver. Something they haven't seen since Peyton Manning retired. You have an opportunity to do that. You have the coaching record. Be smart, Sean. Focus on your future. Don't worry about this season at this point. Because clearly, your team ain't going nowhere. The worst score defense, the worst run defense, and the 4th worst pass defense in the league. And you allow the most yardage in the NFL. How am I respectfully going to say you guys can compete if you're 1-5 and doing all of this defensively? Not to mention the amount of turnovers you have. The 2nd most in the NFL. Are you kidding me? You got an undisciplined football team. That's what it is. I think they really don't care. I just think they don't care. You're better off just rebuilding the team. Sell off all the assets, build up your draft capital, and focus on this draft. Because this is a very talented draft coming up. So get heavily invested and get your scouting team ready. Because y'all aren't going anywhere, and you better invest in that now. I usually never get passionate like this, but the Broncos really piss me off bad. They always piss me off. Speaking of which, they have already continued and started the fire sale. Remember, Randy Gregory's already gone, right? They got rid of him. Now, they got another guy they're getting rid of. Frank Clark has just been released by the Broncos as of today. Frank Clark is no longer a Bronco. In the full update I can give you, he gave back nearly $1.7 million to create the scenario. He agreed to a restructured deal Wednesday, which would give that back in guaranteed salary, which makes his contract more attractive on the trade market. So he's going to be released if he can't get a trade. So for now, he's still with the team, but they're going to release him if they can't get a trade. So anybody can sign him. This is the 2nd pass rusher that they're parting ways with now. Because last week, it was the Niners. They traded Randy Gregory to the 49ers. This was his first season with the Broncos for Frank, but he's only been in 2 games because he's been hurt. He ended up missing Thursday's game yesterday because of an illness, quote unquote. He was released by the Chiefs in March. He joined the Broncos afterwards because he was unable to find common ground with his agent. That's why he left the Chiefs and went to Denver. Well, apparently Denver doesn't want him now, all of a sudden. He's only 30, played 58 games in 4 seasons, and he's got 23.5 sacks in 58 games. Most of his production comes in the postseason, though. He's really that good. In 12 playoff games, he's got 10.5 sacks. He's got 3 Pro Bowl appearances to his name. He really could go to a team that needs help with pressure. And getting pressure. That's what's needed. And if that's the question we're asking ourselves, fine. Let's take a look at some team stats and defensive leaders, right? I'd love to look at some advanced team stats, but I think the way you could do that is going to NFL.com. Well, let's talk about guys that get good pressure or bad pressure. That's the important thing. So apparently Broncos were unable to find the trade, and so Denver decided to release Clark. So Clark is free to anybody. But let's talk about the team stats. I've officially set it to now talk about defensive stats here on this side, right? Let's talk about let's say, tackles maybe. We'll go down the tackles route, downs maybe. I'm trying to see if I can find something that shows good feels for these defenses. I'm thinking passing defense is where we're going to be at, right? Who is struggling in the pass defense route and isn't getting a lot of pressure? Let's say sacks. Let's set it to sacks. Who's getting the least amount of sacks right now for a team that's competitive? A competitive team needs a guy who can get pressure and get sacks. Let's see who that could be. The Giants are listed here. They're not going anywhere, so I'm not buying in on that. The Falcons are number 5, have only 5 sacks this year. So their pressure is they're not getting the sacks. But it looks like they're getting the pressure. I will say that. It looks like they're getting the pressure, but they're not getting the sacks. And they're a team that's 3-2 right now. They're in a good position. They could still compete as long as Ritter continues to build and get better. So I could totally see the Falcons being a force here. So watch Atlanta. Could definitely be an option for Frank Clark. They could totally use a guy like him, and it's cheap. Texans only have 7 sacks in the year. That's tied for the 3rd worst, and that is at 7. Again, 7 sacks. Houston, trying to be competitive already in the AFC South at 2-3. They could use him. The Rams only have 8 sacks this year. A bit of a surprise with Sean McVay always being known as the defensive guy. That would be a good guy. That would be a good team to go to. Jaguars as well as an option. Only 9 sacks this year. Another team to look out for, you can go to the Saints, but the Saints look like they're going in a negative direction, so they could capitalize here with Clark. If you're worried about other things, let's say the Browns. The Browns are trying to keep competitive in the North. Add Clark in. Boom, you got a lot of pressure with him and Garrett. It's beautiful. Let's see. Who else? Who really doesn't need him, though? Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Dolphins, Chiefs, Seahawks, Chargers. Those guys are all pretty good without the sacks. The Broncos would have been able to use him, but they're middle of the pack, so they don't really care anymore. Let's look at the rushing area. You know, the rushing yards allowed, like yards per carry. And this is, again, defensive, allowed. In terms of good run defenses, like bad run defenses, that could really use help. And we're talking like yards per carry every time somebody runs on them, right? The Bills are really struggling in that category. The Broncos were too, but hey, who cares now, right? Let's look at the rushing yards. Who's allowed the most yards so far rushing? Oh, I didn't even answer that question. You guys already know who that is. But in terms of teams that are bad trying to get better, the Bengals are definitely an option. If they're really trying to fight and make a comeback, Frank Clark would be a good fit for them, for Cincinnati. They allow the 2nd most rushing yards this year, and in terms of yards per carry right now, they allow they're tied for the 3rd most yards per carry at 5.3. That wouldn't be a bad team to consider, and the Rams are still an option in my opinion as well. They're a good team that's trying to stay fighting, and they're trying to regain their aggression they had on that defensive line. Maybe adding Frank Clark changes that. So I see Rams and Bengals as the definite options. I'd say watch for the Falcons as well. The Falcons could totally use a guy who could help out in the run game and get the pressure on the quarterback. That would be really helpful for those two. And it needs to be competitive teams. He wants to be with teams that are going to be good and compete. And I think the Bengals will compete. The Falcons will find a way to compete here. There's plenty of options. There's plenty of options here. And in terms of receiving, I don't think receiving matters much to you guys, especially not for when you're looking for a pass rusher. And in terms of like a scoring defense even, can you even pick a scoring defense? I don't even think that really matters too much to them. I think it's, again, just all about the downs and stuff, right? That's really all I can think it would be. So overall, those are the squads. I think the Bengals are probably the team I would consider here as the team to watch. I'd watch the Rams, and I'd watch the Falcons. Those would be the top 3. Those would be really good squads that need people. So if you get action there, that would really help them for Frank Clark. Those would be my best fits because they're looking to compete. They need a big guy to come in there and help carry them. That would be the guy to go to. And this is going to bring us to our final segment now for the NFL and for the show itself. The Week 6 predictions for the NFL. This is where we're going. Now, last week was a very, very rough week. Very rough. And I mean that sincerely. I still have to update my record in predictions as well. So we're going to do what we always do. We're going to pull up the screen of all the scores. And we're going to go through it one by one and decide what the outcome of these games will be. Let's start with the NFL account here. Go through the live scores from here. And start
New
with
York
that.
Jets back at home this week.
Sorry, shutting down the NFL video. We'll start with the Ravens and Titans. That'll be the first game here. We're going right here. This is the window. Everybody, that's what it looks like. Ravens and Titans in the first game here. In London, Tennessee's considered home, but they're in London in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I've got the Ravens in this one. I don't think the Titans will give much fight. I'm optimistic for the Ravens. I think their defense is a big bright spot for them. And it will continue to lock down Tennessee, who are still struggling to find their offense this year. Give me the Ravens. They have no Treylon Burks either, so receiving core takes a big hit. So Baltimore over Tennessee. Let's mark that down. I've got a pen. Baltimore is the one pick. We have Baltimore. Commanders, Falcons. This one's going to be on CBS, 1 o'clock, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. This one's an interesting one. I'm actually on the fence with this game. Commanders lost a bad game last Thursday to the Bears. They're looking to rebound from this. They've had a lot of extra time to prep and rest. I think they can take Atlanta here. Give me Washington. Vikings, Bears. In Chicago, Soldier Field, on Fox, 1 o'clock. I would probably have to take the Vikings on this. I think the Vikings are on a good trend. Chicago's continuing to let their fans down. This game will be no different. Give me Minnesota. Who cares if they just blew out the Commanders? They're not in that place yet. Seahawks and Bengals in Cincinnati, Paycor Stadium, CBS, 1 o'clock. Give me the Bengals. I think Cincinnati's starting to finally get their footing, and it's going to pay off big time here in that home game. Give me the Bengals over to Seattle. 49ers, Browns in the Cleveland Browns Stadium, and will be on Fox at 1 o'clock. I'm taking the 49ers clearly because no Deshaun Watson means P.J. Walker has to start for the Browns. That knocks him down plenty of notches. Niners for the win. Saints and Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston on Fox, 1 o'clock. I'm taking the Texans on this one to beat the Saints. I think Houston needs to rebound from what happened last week against Atlanta and prove that they are not a bad football team, that they can hang with the best of them. And this is the way to do it, is to beat the Saints. Give me Houston. Colts and Jaguars, Everbank Stadium, Jacksonville, Florida, CBS, 1 o'clock. I'm taking the Jaguars on this one. I love Gardner Minshew, don't get me wrong. It's against his former team in Jacksonville. But I do believe that the Jaguars are still the better team. They're going to be very close in this game. Super competitive. Super competitive. It's probably going to come down to a field goal or less. But I've got the Jaguars pulling this one out. Give me the Jags. Panthers, Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium in Opelika, Florida. CBS, 1 o'clock. Panthers, Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins here. Don't get me wrong. I know the Panthers aren't going to finish winless, but they're definitely not beating Miami. Give me the Dolphins here. And if it changes, I will be the first to apologize. Patriots, Raiders, 4:05, CBS, Allegiant Stadium in Paradise, Nevada. This one is an interesting game. McDaniels against his former master, which is Belichick. And in this one, I'm really not I think the Raiders are on a good streak. I feel like the Patriots need a big win here to get back on track. That is not going to happen. Mac Jones is not that guy. I'm going to keep saying it. He ain't that guy. Give me the Raiders. This is the week that they finally decide we're going to bench Mac Jones. This is the week they finally say they're going to do it for good. They're going to let the kid Malik Cunningham get a chance because Zapp hasn't looked good either. Malik Cunningham could actually get the opportunity to start in this game if they pull him. Lions, Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, on Fox, 4:25. Give me the Lions in this one. I want to pick my Bucks, but I'm being fair and honest with myself. Detroit will give them their second loss of the year, but don't be surprised if it's close. Tampa's defense is not a pushover. Give me the Lions, though. Cardinals-Rams, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, on Fox, 4:25 p.m. I'm taking the Rams in this one. The Cardinals, again, hard-fighting team. But, man, I do not like Josh Dobbs as the quarterback. I really don't. I'm not sold on it. Give me the Rams. Going to go to a 500 record now with this win. Eagles-Jets, 4:25 on Fox at MetLife in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Should I just go for chaos and pick Zach Wilson? No, I can't do that. I can't. It's not in good conscience. Give me the Eagles. It's not fair for me to pick them to win because it's just going to be embarrassing for everybody. And Sunday Night Football, 8:20 Eastern on NBC at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. The Giants taking on the Buffalo Bills. Give me the Bills in a landslide. Giants, be prepared. You are going to have a very, very rough year. As I said in my video, actually, last week, the Giants are going to drive a lot of fans to drink. Alcohol sales will go up in New York because of how bad the Giants are. So, it's going to be no different this week. Give me the Bills. And we'll do it ahead of time. Actually, no, we're not going to do it ahead of time. No. I'm putting my foot down. Monday, Night Football, Cowboys-Chargers. We'll be doing that game Monday morning for the morning show when we come back. So that'll be the game. We'll do a little breakdown on the Cowboys-Chargers, including a recoverage of everything that happened in Week 6. Now, before we go, I do want to touch on a few games we were going to talk about involving college football. We talked about it earlier this week. But I'm going to give you guys a quick refresher on these games to watch that could really have serious effects on the way the rankings look after this weekend. This is where we're at. After tomorrow's games, Sunday could look completely different. You could see a serious shakeup in the rankings. If that happens. But here's what it looks like. Georgia, this week, right? We'll take a look at the complete rankings here of the AP poll. Georgia got Vanderbilt this week. Not worried about that game at all. Michigan's got Indiana. Not worried. Ohio State's got Purdue. Not worried. Florida State against Syracuse. The Orange have been a decent team this year. Florida State hasn't looked their strongest. This is definitely a game to watch. Keep an eye out for Syracuse here. Florida State could blow this one. Oklahoma's off this week, so they get a break. Number 6, Penn State's taking on UMass. UMass is ass. Give me the Penn State Lions here. So, I'm not worried about that game either. Washington taking on Oregon. This is the game of the week. The Washington Huskies and the Oregon Ducks. You're getting a preview of two guys that are going to get drafted high in this coming draft. You're going to look at Bo Nix from Oregon and Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. I think Penix is the better quarterback, but you're going to see in this game, this is the closest to NFL level competition they're going to get this year, outside of, if they get into the college football playoff. But this is a big game for Washington and Oregon. Whoever wins this game is probably going to the playoff. And they need big wins here. Both of them do need this win. So let's see if it's going to be Washington or Oregon. I think Oregon will give a good fight. I'm all in on Washington, though. All in. Number 9, Texas, who just took a bad loss to Oklahoma last week. They're off this week. So they get to rest and think about what they've done. Number 10, USC, going up against number 21, Notre Dame. Big game for USC and the Trojans. They're still undefeated. If they lose this game with Caleb Williams, I think their season's over. They won't make the playoff. But they need a big win on Notre Dame. Notre Dame's dreams are already over. They've got 2 losses, automatically out of the college football playoff. But for USC, the door is still open for them. They just need to keep winning. But can Notre Dame play spoiler? That's a big game to watch. Alabama against Arkansas, another game to watch. Alabama not looking like their strongest unit still, despite the big win they just had against A&M just last week. But that was another close game that they had. Another close call. One more loss for Saban's Tide, and they will not make the playoff. The CFP, they will be out. And Arkansas can easily play spoiler with KJ Jefferson at quarterback. They're not a bad football team. They're a competitive football team. 2-4, but competitive. I mean that. 2-4, but competitive. That's the saying. When it's an SEC game, it's never easy. North Carolina at number 12. They're playing number 25, Miami. I'd watch that game as well. North Carolina still undefeated with Drake May. I still believe Drake May is going to be the next Zach Wilson in the NFL. But what do I know? I'm just a sports analyst and my own. I watch a lot of film, but what do I know? Miami Hurricanes. They are definitely fighting have to recover from what happened last week in that disastrous loss and coaching mishap by Mario Cristobal that's almost fireable. They need a big win to take out North Carolina, rebuild the confidence and love in the Hurricanes. So let's see what happens in this game between North Carolina and Miami. Miami loses this, they're done for the year. If North Carolina wins this, they're going to probably rise the rankings up into the top 10. Ole Miss is off this week after getting a big win over Arkansas last week. Louisville still undefeated and just crushed Notre Dame last week 33-20, which sank them out of the CFP completely. Louisville still undefeated, trying to prove haters wrong. They got Pitt. Pitt is always tough and never make it easy for any opponent. So this one's another one to watch. Louisville could get upset here. Oregon State at number 15 beat Cal last week 52-40. They're up against number 18 UCLA. That's a big game to watch as well. UCLA, Oregon State, keep an eye on that one. That's one got huge playoff implications. If UCLA loses this one, their CFP dreams are done. If Oregon State loses, theirs is done as well. 2 losses automatically eliminates you. They need to win this game. Number 16, Utah, was off last week. They're playing Cal this week. Cal just got crushed by Oregon State. Another one to watch right here. 3-3 squad here. But Utah trying to prove themselves as being a tough opponent. Duke, 4-1 and number 17 in the country up against NC State. NC State, not the strongest team this year. Doesn't look their best. I'll be honest with you. NC State could definitely look better. But if there's one thing I can say, a 4-2 team in the ACC up against a 4-1 is never an easy game. NC State will make this game hell for the Blue Devils, but I think the Blue Devils can pull it out. But still one to watch as well. Washington State up against Arizona. They took their first big loss last week to UCLA in a stunner, 25-17. They're up against the Arizona Wildcats. Took a hard loss last week as well. They're 3-3 on the season, but as we all know, division games, Pac-12, not easy. So another one to keep an eye on. You don't have to focus on it, but keep an eye on it. Tennessee Vols are tied at 19 with Washington State. They're taking on Texas A&M, who's coming off a rough loss to the Alabama Crimson Tide. They need a big win here against Tennessee to sink the Orange. If they sink those Vols, their season is over. Notre Dame, we already talked about at 21, taking on USC at number 10. LSU's done for the College Football Playoff as well with 2 losses, but they got Auburn. And that's always a good SEC game. So let's see how high LSU can rise on this board if they can beat Auburn. Number 23, Kansas, 5-1 on the year, beat UCF last week handily, 51-22. They got Oklahoma State this week, and Oklahoma State is never easy. They are always making life hard for everyone. 3-2 this year, but that don't matter. That record never matters. Never matters. It's about how you play in this one game. Always is. Take it game by game. Kentucky at number 24 after getting embarrassed by Georgia, 51-13 to take their first loss of the year. They're taking on Missouri. The Mizzou Tigers are looking to make some damage happen. 5-1. They're trying to get back in the CFP, and the only way to do that would be taking out Kentucky here. They're the last ones looking in. And we already talked about Miami at number 25. Some other teams receiving votes that could rise with some big losses in the 25 this week. Wyoming, Missouri, Air Force, Wisconsin, Tulane, and Clemson. Those are the main ones to watch. Can't count West Virginia after a loss they just had to Houston yesterday. But regardless, these are the teams to watch. Fresno State isn't even listed because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But Missouri, Wyoming, Air Force, Wisconsin, Tulane should be the main ones to watch. Clemson, I don't know about that. But those main 5 I just mentioned are the ones to keep an eye on. They got a lot of votes here. They'll be the first ones looking in if they win this week and if a couple of these teams lose. These are the guys under consideration, so watch for that. But once again, a quick recap of the games you need to keep an eye on, for sure. Florida State, Syracuse, number 4 in the nation versus the Orange. Number 7, Washington versus number 8, Oregon. Number 10, USC versus number 21, Notre Dame. Number 11, Alabama versus Arkansas. Number 12, North Carolina versus number 25, Miami. Number 14, Louisville versus Pittsburgh. Oregon State, number 15 versus number 18, UCLA. I would say watch number 17, Duke versus NC State. Washington State versus Arizona. Tennessee versus Texas A&M. Kansas versus Oklahoma State, and that is all. And Kentucky versus Missouri. That's it. Those are the games. Quick summary. If you're going to bet on those games, bet wisely, bet smartly. If you're 21 and over, please bet responsibly. Okay, I am not responsible for any bets you do make or don't make here with the games I just talked about and the information I just gave you. So again, that is the show, and that is the college football segment. So football officially wrapped up in this segment here. And with that, people, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. I appreciate it so much. You guys have been great. We're going to be back on Monday morning with a 10 a.m. show again. I'm trying my best to keep doing 10 a.m., but my work schedules at night are making life really hard to do these streams. So the best I could do today was getting it done around 11 o'clock. If that has to happen more regularly, we'll do 11 o'clock shows. We'll do 11 o'clock shows. Fine, no problem. It actually makes life way easier, I think, for all of us. So, once again, thank you all for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, watching this for the first time, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, it goes a long way in helping us growing our content on that platform and on Twitch. If you're seeing this for the first time, we appreciate a good follow and helping us grow this channel even more here in the sports category here on the platform. You know, a follow goes really far in helping us. We are 2 followers away once again, right here. 2 followers away from hitting 15 followers, a big objective we want to hit in the quest to continue building this channel into a potential juggernaut here on the Twitch community and in the sports division. So, once again, thank you guys so much. I'm Brian Mansell. This has been the Brian Mansell Show. We'll be back Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. No, we're not going to do that. No. 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Twitch and on YouTube. So, once again, thank you all so much. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some college football. Enjoy some NFL action. Enjoy some WNBA finals. And enjoy the beginning of the ALCS.